Good morning, Mr. Leong. May I know what is Abhidhamma?
Okay, very interesting question. Well, I think before I answer your question directly, let me explain to you what is actually in the Pali Canon or what is Buddhism. Actually, on records, there are what we call Pali Canon. There are three baskets. They are all written in Ola leaf and they are spread out into three baskets. The first one is Vinaya, that is monastic rule. Second one is actually the suttas, the discourses given by the Buddha over his 45 years in teaching the Dharma. And then the last one, of course, is the Abhidhamma. And of this, the suttas contain the most book. Abhidhamma has about 7 books, all right? And in brief, Buddhism is actually described as both a religion and also a philosophy. Now, what is the difference? A religion is one that people go by faith, sacred texts, and the community. And in philosophy, more about the what is involved, the thinking, all right, and thinking through and looking at logic and so on. So Buddhism is actually both of them. All right. Now, when we talk about the Dharma, it actually covers ethics. Ethics means ethical practices and how to meditate and be mindful. Whereas in Abhidhamma, the name actually is interpreted to be higher learning. It goes into the thinking, the mind, how we look at the practices, the meditation, and so on, and how it influences us in our thoughts. So that is Abhidhamma.
Teacher Leong, was Abhidhamma taught by the Buddha?
Okay, this is a very interesting question. There are two ways to look at it. Now, in the first, it is true, Buddha did not teach the Abhidhamma during his lifetime. He, in his passing away, Parinibbana, 3 months after he passed away, the first Buddhist council recorded the Vinaya and the Sutta, the two important things. Now, so the Buddha did not specifically teach Abhidhamma, but there are some tradition that said he went to the Deva world and preached Abhidhamma to the Devas. And on his return to the world, he actually transmitted this to or recited this to Sariputta, who transmitted it to his disciple, and that was how it was recorded. But the actual Abhidhamma record appeared only during the Third Buddhist Council, and it was included as the third basket. All right, so there was the Vinaya, the Sutta, and Abhidhamma. So that is the records in history. Now, having said this, I want to emphasize one point. Although the Buddha did not specifically teach Abhidhamma, I want to emphasize the point that Abhidhamma is actually a progression of our nature and thinking. When we learn and explore the Dharma, and when we come to a stage of understanding, the mind is actually the one at work to interpret Abhidhamma, to interpret Dharma into higher level of thinking. That means monks and practitioners during the Buddha's time who understood Dharma have this process already going on in their mind. This process of thinking we now call Abhidhamma, right?
How can we apply Abhidhamma to our daily lives?
All right. And this is the important part of a Buddhist practice. We may attend classes, we may attend talk, but eventually, the most important thing for a Buddhist is to do and practice the ethics taught in the sutta. And very simple: do good, do no evil. All right. And what this means is we learn about the five precepts, we learn about how to attain perfection, perhaps. These are ethics that, as a Buddhist, we ought to practice, do all the time, and at the same time, apply to our daily life every moment that we are aware of. And at the same time, there will come a point where this goes into our thoughts. There's one thing that a Buddhist is always asked to practice: thoughts bring good speech, good action. We are all driven by thoughts, words, and action. And when we do it more often with meditation and mindfulness, the Abhidhamma thoughts of perfection comes in to help us understand it better. And this is where learning the Dhamma is important for us to recognize and connect both our practices with our thoughts.
How can Abhidhamma bring about enlightenment?
Okay, very interesting point. Now, just following up from my last question, how Abhidhamma helps in our daily life. This is the progress from the last thing I talked about. When you practice and you start putting it in your thoughts and generating your thoughts to wholesome thoughts, leading to wholesome words and action, the mind will become clearer. Every time you see something, you see the wholesome part of what you perceive. Now, let me give you an example. I do not know if you can see this picture. Now, just like anything we see, we receive this in our message every time in mobile phone. What do you see? What thoughts come to your mind? Some people look at it and say, well, what is so good about the morning? Some people look at a coffee and say, oh, I hate coffee. Or some people say, oh, I will go for my coffee now. I love coffee. Some people will look at it and say, why is it in Chinese? I can't read Chinese. And so on. So, looking at a message like that can give so many wholesome as well as unwholesome thoughts. So, this is not the only thing. Remember, moment come very fast. It come like that. And in one whole day, we can have thousands of moments. And if our thoughts are not well supervised, I use the word supervised, we do not look at it, we have a lot of unwholesome things coming to our mind. And this is where we can use or understand Abhidhamma to see the mind as it really is. All right. Now, what do we mean by see things as it really is? This is a very complicated statement. All right. But I can tell you, when you learn Abhidhamma, you begin to see Abhidhamma in its perspective, your mind in perspective, and understand it better. Let me give you an example. I do not know if you have heard of this scientist called Archimedes. He was a very good scientist and he was very famous for something he discovered. Not because this thing never happened before, it happens to all of us. But We do not understand it or see it until Archimedes filled up his bathtub full of water, went in, submerged inside, and the water overflow displaced equal volume to the body. He was so excited, he actually ran in the street shouting, Eureka! All right, you remember this story. This, this information he discovered was not new. We do it all the time. We displace water in our container all the time, but we never see what Archimedes saw. This is the same. Abhidhamma is about seeing things, is all the time there, but we do not perceive it in the correct perspective and leading us to see more unwholesome rather than, and our mind don't get to see the things as it really is. All right, so Abhidhamma help us in that. All right, so train to see us and remember what are the three things? To see that everything that come to our mind is the three characteristic of impermanence, all right, suffering, and non-self. All right, this comes when we understand Dharma through the mind, Abhidhamma.
Teacher Leong, could you further explain about the sufferings, impermanence, and also non-self?
Sure, sure. Now, in Buddhism, in Dharma, when we say anicca, it is everything around us is ever changing. There's no moments when something stands still and don't change. All right, everything is changing. Our mind is changing. Our thoughts is changing, uh, uh, and and this caused suffering because we always want things to be permanent. But unfortunately, there's no such thing as permanence, and there's a non-self. We think we are permanent as well, and then we are steady. We are always there, but time will come when we realize that we don't last forever. There's no self. All right. So, understanding or seeing the mind with Abhidhamma and seeing these three things, we became to see. That is, the few words are used to see things as they truly are. All right, and project our thoughts, our words and our action accordingly to what we understand, and we gain wisdom as well as enlightenment.
Can you summarize the essence of Abhidhamma covered in the YMBA syllabus covered in the Mangala Vihara Sunday Dharma School?
Well, um, as I said, Abhidhamma has always been part of the Pali canon, but it was only introduced into YMBA syllabus around 1978. And that's when I got this book. All right, this was when I got this book in 1978, when the, the YMBA decided to include Abhidhamma in its YMBA syllabus, and we were given this book, and all teachers, including myself at that time, we have to go through a course conducted by our Bhante Mahavira to understand this, to teach. Now, but as I said, the Abhidhamma existed in writing, starting from the third council. All right. So, what do we learn in Abhidhamma? Dhamma has been described by some people as conventional teaching, Vihara Desana. Abhidhamma is called Paramatta Desana. Well, what is that? Ultimate teaching. Well, of course, don't be confused. These are words that people use to describe, to try to bring Abhidhamma a bit further away, out into very high extreme, but they are connected. When you learn the Dharma, you practice ethics, you meditate, you become mindful, you develop Abhidhamma thoughts. But you do not recognize it as Abhidhamma until you start reading the book and say, I didn't know I have that already. You know, you see consciousness in the syllabus. We will teach you what is consciousness, chitta. We tell you that every consciousness has got mental factors, cetasika, 52 of them actually. All right. What is wholesome, what is unwholesome, and then in the sensual world, there are only 54 consciousness, all right, applied here, unless you meditate and you go into jhana stage, you see different consciousness. But that is not important. We just want to let you know every time when you think of something, you are occupied by a particular consciousness with chitta seeker. And we are going to describe and show you all this. All right. At the same time, we will tell you about the rupa. All right. The rupa means the body. All right. And then finally, the last one is the nibbana. So our Abhidhamma course have all this, but at the same time, just to give you an idea, I do not know. You can see this, the Noble Eightfold Path. We all know about it. Right thoughts, all right, right understanding, right thoughts is described as wisdom, panya. Okay, now what is this wisdom and panya? If you practice the next three, which is the sila group, through your five precepts mainly, and then you meditate, you become mindful, you develop right thoughts, right understanding. This is actually implicit Abhidhamma. A lot of people do not understand that Abhidhamma comes also within the eight four path. Of course, the last two is about meditation and the practice, mindfulness. So you see, everything you learn in the Dharma, they are all connected. All right? And if you tell people, do you know that you are also trying to develop Abhidhamma knowledge in the first two? They'll be surprised they did not think about that too. All right, this is what I mean. Okay, then the next thing I want to show you is very interesting in the Abhidhamma syllabus. We are all going to learn about the thought moment divided into 70 sub moments, 17 thought process for one thought moment. Can you imagine how fast things move in our mind? Just like that. And it isn't one thought moment even faster than this. And there are 17 processes that goes on. And each of these 17 has divided into three subgroup. Can you imagine that? 7 times 3. Wow. How fast our mind moves. We will learn all this when we learn the Abhidhamma. Thank you.